My sister's been in a coma for 18 months, and I just found out she heard every single word we said about letting her go. It started the day the doctor said Emma was technically alive, but her brain activity was minimal. Vegetative state, they called it, which sounds hopeful, until you realize it means your sister is trapped between living and dying. My mother lasted 3 months before she started talking about quality of life when she thought I wasn't listening. My father made it 5 months before mentioning how much the medical bills were costing. My older brother visited twice, then stopped coming because he said seeing Emma like that gave him nightmares. I had to ignore their doubts because I knew our twin connection wasn't just childhood imagination. The same connection that made me wake up gasping for air the exact moment Emma's car hit the tree across town. I visited every day at Tiwadao, the time we used to get home from school together. I'd hold her still hand and trace letters into her palm, asking, "Can you feel this?" until my fingers went numb. We'd invented this finger spelling game when we were kids, writing messages during boring church services. I sat through 18 months of one-sided conversations while Emma stared at the ceiling because I refused to believe she was gone. I told her everything, because the silence would have destroyed me. How her boyfriend Ryan started dating her roommate just 2 months after the accident. How he'd asked for her apartment key back while she was still on life support. How mom made Emma's birthday cake out of habit, then cried when she realized what she'd done. Sometimes Emma's eyes seemed to follow sounds. Sometimes her fingers twitched against mine. But doctors said muscle memory meant nothing. I documented every movement, searching for patterns everyone told me didn't exist. Family visits dropped from daily to weekly to monthly. Insurance pushed for long-term care facilities, places where families send patients they've given up on. Then last week, while telling Emma how Ryan had the nerve to ask for her grandmother's ring back, I felt something against my palm. Deliberate pressure, not random, intentional. I froze. Emma, if you can hear me, squeeze once for yes, twice for no. Nothing. My heart broke again. Then 3 seconds later, one firm squeeze that made my whole arm shake. Are you there? One squeeze. Have you always been there? One squeeze, so strong it hurt. Can you understand everything? One squeeze that felt like drowning and surfacing at the same time. Emma started spelling something letter by letter through exhausting finger movements. K-E-Y-S. The keys to her car, one squeeze. The spare keys to her apartment that Ryan didn't know about, hidden in our childhood jewelry box. You want me to get them? One squeeze. Desperate and urgent. The insurance meeting was scheduled for the next morning to discuss transferring Emma to a long-term care facility. I brought the keys, tucked in my jacket, but didn't understand why she wanted them until the social worker looked at my notebooks full of documented responses like they were fantasy stories. Sometimes families see patterns that aren't really there, she said gently, while my parents prepared to sign transfer papers. Emma's hand hanging motionless off the bed like she was already gone. That's when Emma started tapping frantically against the bed rail. K-E-Y-S. The keys? I whispered. You want them now? One squeeze. N-O-W. I pulled the familiar keychain from my pocket and pressed it into Emma's palm. Her fingers closed around it like she was holding her own lifeline. Her eyes, blank for 18 months, suddenly focused on those keys with laser precision. Tears ran down both our faces while the social worker's pen stopped mid-signature. Ask her something, I begged. Please, anything. She rolled her eyes but asked what year it was. Emma squeezed out 2024. She asked her to count to 3. 3 perfect squeezes. Our mother's name, L-I-N-D-A. By the time Emma had answered 15 questions correctly, the social worker had torn up the transfer papers and doctors flooded in, suddenly interested in the patient they'd written off. 2 months later, Emma can sometimes blink on command and occasionally squeeze other people's hands, though never as consistently as she does mine. Recovery happens in tiny steps, not miracles. After the insurance meeting, I asked why she fought so hard to tell me about the keys first. It took an hour to spell out her answer. You were the only one who still talked to me like I was alive. Then she added something that shattered me completely. Heard mom say quality of life. Another pause. Heard dad worry about money. Heard them all give up except you. The doctors call her progress remarkable. But Emma spelled out the truth about recovery. Not magic. Just someone too stubborn to let go. My sister's been in a coma for 18 months, and last week she finally told me what kept her fighting when everyone else had stopped believing.